Okay, hi everyone, welcome back to this video series on Windows Server, Server 2012, creating application categories. In many networks, the list of supported applications can include hundreds of items. For users who are looking for only one specific program, searching through a list of all these programs can be difficult and time-consuming. Fortunately, methods for categorizing the applications are available on your network. You can easily manage the application categories for users and computers by right-clicking the software installation item, selecting properties, and then clicking the categories tab. Figure 6.12 shows you the categories tab of the software installation package. When creating categories, it is a good idea to use category names that are meaningful to users because it'll make it easier for them to find the programs they're seeking. Once the software installation categories have been created, you can view them by clicking the programs and features icon in control panel. When you click add new programs, you'll see that several options appear in the category drop-down list. Now, when you select the properties for a package, you will be able to assign the application to one or more of the categories. Removing programs. As discussed in the beginning of the chapter, an important phase in the software management lifecycle is the removal of applications. Fortunately, if you use the gPMC and the Windows installer packages, the process is simple. To remove an application, you can right-click the package within the group policy settings and select all tasks remove. When choosing to remove a software package from a GPO, you have two options shown here. Immediately uninstall the software from the Immediately uninstall the software from users and computers. System administrators can choose this option to ensure that an application is no longer available to users who are affected by the GPO. When this option is selected, the program will be uninstalled automatically from users and/or computers that have the package. This option might be useful, for example, if the license for a certain application has expired or if a program is no longer on the approved applications list. Allow users to continue to use the software but prevent new installations. This option prevents users from making new installations of a package, but it does not remove the software if it has already been installed for users. This is a good option if the company has run out of additional licenses for the software, but the existing licenses are still valid. Figure 6.14 shows these two removal options. So here you see figure 6.13, removing a software package. Figure 6.14, software removal options. Microsoft Windows installer settings. Several options influence the behavior of the Windows installer. You can set them within a GPO. You can access these options by navigating to User Configuration, Administrative Templates, Windows Components, Windows Installer. The options are as follows. Always install with elevated privileges. This policy allows users to install applications that require elevated privileges. For example, if a user does not have the permissions necessary to modify the registry, but the installation program must make registry changes, this policy will allow the process to succeed. Figure 6.15, GPO settings for Windows installer. Prevent removable media source for any install. This option disallows the installation of software using removable media such as CD-ROM or DVD-ROM. It is useful for ensuring that users install only approved applications. Prohibit rollback. When this option is enabled, the Windows installer does not share the system state information that is required to roll back the installation of the application. System administrators may choose this option to reduce the amount of temporary disk space required during the installation and to increase the performance of the installation operation. However, the drawback is that the system cannot roll back to its original state if the installation fails and the application needs to be removed. Specify the order in which Windows installer searches. This setting specifies the order in which the Windows installer will search for installation files. The option include N for network shares, M for searching removable media, and U for searching the internet for installation files. Troubleshooting group policies. Because of the wide variety of configurations that are possible when you are establishing GPOs, you should be aware of some common troubleshooting methods. These methods will help isolate problems in policy settings or GPO links. One possible problem with GPO configuration is that logons and system startups may take longer. This occurs especially in large environments when the group policy settings must be transmitted over the network and in many cases slow WAN links. In general, the number of GPOs should be limited because of the processing overhead and network requirements during logon. By default, GPOs are processed in a synchronous manner. This means that the processing of one GPO must be completed before another one is applied, as opposed to asynchronous processing, where they all execute at the same time. When a group policy gets processed on a Windows-based operating system, client-side extensions are the mechanisms that interpret the stored policy and then make the appropriate changes to the operating system environment. When an administrator is troubleshooting a given extension's application of policy, the administrator can view the configuration parameters for that extension in the operating system's registry. To view the extension in the registry, you would view the following key: H key, local machine, software, Microsoft Windows, current version, group policy. The most common issue associated with group policy is the unexpected setting of group policy options. In Windows Server 2000, administrators spent countless hours analyzing inheritance, hierarchy, and individual settings to determine why a particular user or computer was having policy problems. For instance, say a user named WPanic complains that the run option is missing from his start menu. The WAPNEC user account is stored in the New Hampshire OU, and you've applied group policies at the OU domain and site levels. To determine the source of the problem, you would have to sift through each GPO manually to find the start menu policy, as well as to figure out the applicable inheritance settings. Windows Server 2012 R2 has a handy feature called resultant set of policy, RSoP, that displays the exact settings that actually apply to individual users, computers, OUs, domains, and sites after inheritance and filtering have taken effect. In the example just described, you could run RSoP on the WPanic account and view a single set of group policy settings that represent the settings that apply to that account. In addition, each settings properties dialog box displays the GPO from which the setting is derived, as well as the order of priority, the filter status, and other useful information, as you will see a bit later. RSoP actually runs in two modes. Logging mode displays the actual settings that apply to users and computers, as shown in the example in the preceding paragraph. Planning mode can be applied to users, computers, OUs, domains, and sites, and you use it before you apply any settings. As its name implies, planning mode is used to plan GPOs. Additionally, you can run the command line utility gpresult.exe to get a quick snapshot of the group policy settings that apply to a user and or computer. Let's take a closer look at the two modes and the gpresult.exe command. RSoP in logging mode. RSoP in logging mode can query policy settings only for users and computers. The easiest way to access RSoP in logging mode is through the Active Directory users and computers tool, although you can use it as a standalone MMC snap-in if you want. To analyze the policy settings for WPANIC from an earlier example, you would right-click the user icon in Active Directory users and computers and select all tasks resultant set of policy. The group policy results wizard appears. The wizard walks you through the steps necessary to view the RSoP for WPANIC. The computer selection page shown in figure 6.16 requires you to select a computer for which to display settings. Remember that a GPO contains both user and computer settings, so you must choose a computer to which the user is logged on in order to continue with the wizard. If the user has never logged onto a computer, then you must run RSoP in planning mode because there is no logged policy information yet for that user. The user selection page shown in figure 6.17 requires you to select a user account to analyze because I selected a user from the Active Directory users and computers tools. Computers tool. The username is filled in automatically. This page is most useful if you are running RSoP in MMC mode and don't have the luxury of selecting a user contextually. So here we go, figure 6.16, the computer selection page of the group policy results wizard. Figure 6.17, the user selection page of the group policy results wizard. The summary of selections page shown in figure 6.18 summarizes your choices and provides an option for gathering extended error information. If you need to make any changes before you begin to analyze the policy settings, you should click the back button on the summary screen, otherwise click next. Figure 6.18, the summary of selections page of the group policy results wizard. After the wizard is complete, you will see the window shown in figure 6.19. This window displays only the policy settings that apply to the user and computer that you selected in the wizard. You can see these users and computers at the topmost level of the tree. Any warnings or errors appear as a yellow triangle or a red X over the applicable icon at the level where the warning or error occurred. To view more information about warnings or error, right-click the icon and select properties as shown in figure 6.20. You cannot make changes to any of the individual settings because RSoP is a diagnostic tool and not an editor, but you can get more information about settings by clicking a setting and selecting properties from the context menu. The Details tab of the User's Property window shown in figure 6.21 displays the actual setting that applies to the user in question based on GPO inheritance. RSoP in planning mode. RSoP in planning mode isn't much different from running RSoP in logging mode, but the RSoP wizard asks for a bit more information than you saw earlier. In the former example, WPANIC couldn't see the run option in the start menu because his user account is affected by the New Hampshire GPO in the San Jose OU. As an administrator, you could plan to move his user account to the North America OU. Before doing so, you could verify his new policy settings by running RSoP in planning mode. Running the RSoP on the user wPanic under the scenario that you've already moved him from San Jose OU to the North American OU. At this point, you haven't actually moved the user, but you can see what his settings would be if you did. Figure 621, the details of the objects and properties window using the gpresult.exe command. The command line utility gpresult.exe is included as part of the RSoP tool. Running the command by itself without any switches returns the following group policy information about the local user and computer: the name of the domain controller from which the local machine retrieved the policy information, the date and time at which the policies were applied, which policies were applied, which policies were filtered out, group membership. You can use the switches shown in table 6.2 to get information for remote users and computers and to enable other options. So there's the switches there. For example, to obtain information about user panic in a system called StellaCon, you would use the command gpresult/s StellaCon/user wPanic. Through the use of these techniques, you should be able to track down even the most elusive group policy problems. Remember, however, that good troubleshooting skills do not replace planning adequately and maintaining GPOs. Summary. In this chapter, you examined Active Directory's solution to a common headache for many system administrators: policy settings. Specifically, I discussed topics that covered group policy. I covered the fundamentals of group policy, including its fundamental purpose. You can use group policy to enforce granular permissions for users in an Active Directory environment. Group policies can restrict and modify the actions allowed for users and computers within the Active Directory environment. Certain group policy settings may apply to users and computers or both. Computer settings affect all users who access the machines to which a policy applies. User settings affect users regardless of the machines to which they log on. You learned that you can link group policy objects to Active Directory sites, domains, or OUs. This link determines to which objects the policies apply. GPO links can interact through inheritance and filtering to result in an effective set of policies. This chapter covered inheritance and how GPOs filter down. I showed you how to use the enforced option on a GPO issued from a parent and how to block GPOs from a child. You can also use administrative templates to simplify the creation of GPOs. There are some basic default templates that come with Windows Server 2012 or 2. In addition, administrators can delegate control over GPOs in order to distribute administrative responsibilities. Delegation is an important concept because it allows for distributed administration. You can also deploy software using GPOs. This feature can save time and increase productivity through the entire software management life cycle by automating software installation and removal on client computers. The Windows installer offers a more robust method for managing installation and removal, and applications that support it can take advantage of new Active Directory features. Make sure you're comfortable using the Windows installer. You learned about publishing applications via Active Directory and the difference between publishing and assigning applications. You can assign some applications to users and computers so that they are always available. You can also publish them to users so that the user can install them with minimal effort when required. You also learned how to prepare for software deployment before your users take advantage of automated software installation. You must set up an installation, share, and provide the appropriate permissions. The final portion of the chapter covered the resultant set of policy RSoP tool, which you can use in logging mode, planning mode to determine exactly which set of policies applies to users, computers, OUs, domains, and sites. So I'm going to leave it here today for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you.